Welcome to SwarmCast, the marketing hive for pest control pros from coast to coast. If you're tired of your competition bugging you and want to grow your business like a well-built colony, you're in the right place. Each episode, we'll break down the latest marketing trends, expert insights, and proven strategies to help you exterminate the competition and keep your phones buzzing. So strap in, pest bosses. It's time to swarm the market and take your business to the next level. This is SwarmCast.
Welcome to the SwarmCast. We have one of the most interesting ladies in the world here, Kim Camera. Okay, she's trained elephants, falconeering, ferrets, canines, about any other animal you can think of, redefining the pest control industry with some of the things that she's doing, helping with IPM strategies, billion-dollar corporations, and yes, small pest control companies do what they do. Welcome to the show today, Kim.
Hi, Wyatt. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, I think that the PCOs, ones that are joining us on the SwarmCast day, they need to listen to this. Why? Because you are one of the few that are doing this in the field today. And before we get into that, I would love to hear you tell your story about how you came to be in this particular field. I know some of the other details you shared with me before, but how did you get into this? What happened?
Well, I was on FEMA, so I ran FEMA for a long time with dogs. So I retired from there and sat at home for about 6 months and was like, that's it, I'm bored. And, I'm a falconer, so I hunt. And I enjoy being outside and I enjoyed hunting. And here we are. We're now working with the dogs. And I'm telling you, Wyatt, it's amazing what dogs can do. It's amazing what they tell you. It's amazing the therapy they give you. I actually had a very serious breast cancer, and I couldn't work with my birds anymore, but I had a dog.
Oh, wow.
Dog was so irritating and so obnoxious, and I hated it so much. And that dog kept me going. It kept me outside. It kept me motivated, and it kept me alive. And that is how my rodent adventure stared. We just started killing rats around the farm.
Okay, this is something new. I didn't hear about your falconing days. You were doing the falcon stuff too before the canines.
I've been a falconer for like 30 years, and I was hunting successfully all over the country, just having fun and hanging out with your falconry buddies. And then I was diagnosed with breast cancer and could not keep my birds out because you have to fly every day. It's not fair to put them in a box and just let them sit there. So I gave my birds back to my master falconer. I'm a general falconer, and falconers all have supervisors. You start as an apprentice and then you can move up the line. So I'm a general, and he took my birds back. His grandchildren fell in love with them because they were old and easy to handle. And 3 years later, I got a diagnosis. I was cancer free, and I went to get my birds back. And after the kids screaming and crying, I left my birds in New York. And here I am now hunting dogs. And it's amazing. It is just amazing. And it's, but
so you couldn't sit still, right? The birds are over here. You got your dogs at home, and would you just like instinctively start training your dogs at home for doing something else? Would you?
oh
Wow.
yeah, I had a training company when I got sick, and so I ran a boarding and training facility. I come from the zoo background. I've trained everything from, elephants to otters to rats, for all types of things. So yeah, it was just a natural progression. And this puppy comes into my life. I'm all depressed, and I'm sick, and I'm depressed, and I don't have my birds. And here's this obnoxious puppy. And that puppy taught me so much. And he recently passed away of cancer.
I'm sorry.
Only 5 years old. This is fascinating. So this obnoxious puppy comes into my life at 5. I just got diagnosed with cancer. And here's this obnoxious puppy. 5 years out, he gets diagnosed with cancer and I get a diagnosis of cancer free. They now consider me cancer free after 5 years. And he passed away almost to the month. And it was like he was brought into my life to keep me going. And I miss that. I'm going to cry. I miss that dog so much. He was such an obnoxious part of my life and taught me a lot. So he is why I have my business. He is why we are succeeding. So I owe that dog a lot.
That's awesome. I'll just say, first of all, we've lost dogs. Everybody that in my life, we've lost dogs in this year actually. And so the one statement I saw, maybe you'll find some comfort in this, is that dog's wagging his tail in your heart every
Oh
day.
yeah. Yeah, he was
And
put in my
so,
life on purpose.
yeah, he was with purpose, and man, the world's a better place because of it. And they get you through some tough times. So thank you for sharing that. So we got the falcon story, we got the zoo in the zoo training elephants, and now here I came across the first time I heard of your name. I saw one of your posts, and this dog was shaking a rat. Okay. And I thought that I laughed. I busted out laughing. I'm like, that ain't that. What is that? AI? That can't be real. And this dog was just sniffing out these rats and shaking them, and I was just like laughing, like, I can't believe this is real. And here we are. Here we are on this podcast talking about your social media posts. So let's talk about that for a minute. What does UC Paws stand for? What is that?
UCPOS stands for Urban Canine Pest and Wildlife Solutions. And I just love the acronym UCPAWS. I mean, that's what we do. We pretty much just look at the dogs' butts running away from us all the time. You know? So the goal of UCPAWS was to lower the amount of rodenticide used in the environment. How UCPAWS got started was I've got a phenomenal salesman that works for a large box pest company, and I do a lot of bed bug work. So I started in bed bugs because no one would talk to me about rodents. They didn't want to hear about it. And I said, hey, next year we're going to start a canine rodent program. And she spun around and said, I need it in 3 weeks. I'm like, holy, okay,
What?
I can do
What?
that. I said, sure, no problem. And I get in the car, calling everybody. I need a rodent dog. I need a rodent dog. Finally, this tiny little, awesome little Patterdale was given to me. And he was a bad boy in his day. They used him for pigs. They used him. He had a rough life. They used him for a lot of big game. And so I got this little dog and we worked him on rats. And I said, I don't know if this dog can even do this. So we didn't charge her. And we showed up at the facility and we're doing our perimeter. And all of a sudden he just disappears into this hole. I'm like, oh my God, I've lost my dog. You saw his little tail just a wagging. And I grabbed his tail and I'm pulling him out of the hole. And that turned out to be a burrow. And I'll tell you about that. Now we come into the restaurant and he's doing a perimeter check and he focuses on an office. And they're like, there's no rats in there. And I'm like, I'm thinking, I have never done this before. Oh my God, what am I doing? And he hones in on a wall. So I know he's in rodent odor. And then all of a sudden a rat comes flying out from behind the filing cabinet and he caught it. And I let out a girl scream, ah! And I was so excited. The restaurant manager wasn't as excited as I was about that, but I was thrilled. And we removed the filing cabinet and these rats had chewed around the electrical box, the
Yeah.
receptacle. There was a big
Yeah.
hole. Yeah, and there were more eyes staring at us. So now we have a hot zone and a void that the dog found. Well, 3 months later, they finally cut into that wall and they found an old pipe they didn't know existed, a cast iron pipe, and the rodents had chewed through it and they were using that as the runway through the restaurant. So now you have your resident population in the restaurant. Now you got your population coming into the restaurant. That hole that dog went down was the burrow, and that was the main thing. It went right down, hit the French drain. They went right into that pipe, and that's how they were getting in and out. So we found where they needed to do exclusion. We found how they needed to, all by a dog. And this company had worked on this for months. And why dogs are so wonderful, they can see what you can't see. That is why they're valuable. The human ego says, I can do that and I can see this. And we can. A well-trained person can see exclusion, rat grease. They can see the fecal. They can smell the rats. But a dog is going to find what you can't see. And that's what's important. It's so important to your exclusion efforts, and your exclusion efforts is what's going to be successful when you're taking care of your rodent issue.
It's awesome. Sounds like we're talking about IPM. I think about Warren Ryan,
Yep.
and I see his infrared videos and the work that he's doing there in California. But I
Yep.
know you guys are friends as well. But
Yep.
this is definitely part of that. So my question is, how do you train a dog to do this? How does that work?
So, well, if there's a lot of studies out there because everybody wants to know, well, what breed does this best and what breed does that best. And I remember Alice Morton, I think from molecular biology evolutions, 2025, 24. She did a study, Scientific Reports did a study, University of Montana did a study on what type of dog makes the best nose-wise. It doesn't matter. They're all the same. All the breeds are the same. So everyone always wants,
Interesting.
what's the best dog? The best dog is when you get that phone call and the owner go, I need you to take this dog because it wants to kill my cat. I want that dog. That's the best dog to have. You want a dog that has high prey drive. I have a 9-pound dachshund that chases and catches rats. And I have a Patterdale that's here as a pet. They're really high drives, but no, she's a couch potato. So it really just depends on the individual dog and the prey drive behind that dog. And then you just take the genetics, the natural ability of that dog, and you train it, and you train it on the odor. We don't train on live rats right away. We train on fecal, urine, nesting material from wild rats, bedding from wild rats. We train on the invisible things that they need to smell. And that we've learned, these abatement dogs that just want to kill them, they're not helping me much in these warehouses because they're chasing a ghost. They're chasing that live rat that's running around the pallets. I'm not learning where's my fecal, where's my runway, where's all the invisible signs that I have got to tell that pest company so they can mass trap. So we now train two different types of dogs. We have our abatement dogs, which are they're going to dispatch so we can remove them, so they're killing them. And we have our detection dogs that can go into these warehouses. We can be compliant with the various audit systems, and they're not killing. You don't want them to kill in the warehouse. It'll be a terrible, the sanitation they have to do would be insane. We just have to give information back. So training them on live rats, we train them on live rats. So we start them on odor. I actually go to barn hunt. Have you heard of barn hunt?
Oh,
So barn hunt is I forget, AKC. It's a competition where people just throw their dog inside of some type of an enclosure that looks like a barn, and they got rats hidden in tubes, and the dogs find them. I competed. I've got all my dogs have master barn hunt titles, or two of them have master barn hunt titles. And now they're using their nose, and they're used to environmentals and all that fun stuff. And then the killing comes a lot later. Dogs will kill. They naturally kill. Teaching them how to kill them right, so it's fast, it's humane, and the dog doesn't get bit. That's the issue with doing rodent dogs.
Makes sense. Yeah, I was wondering how these dogs not get bit. And when I saw that dog on your social post shake that thing, I'm like, oh yeah, that must be part of the training.
That's
Shake
part
it
of the
off,
training.
right? That's a Taylor Swift line. Shake it off, right? Shake that right off.
And they
A
bite.
question.
Yeah,
What's
go
it?
ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, there's a beer commercial where you have the most interesting man in the world. Well, you must be the most interesting woman in the world with your stories, and some of the stories of what you talked about going into aircraft, going on to oil rigs. I mean, some of
Well,
the places you've been flying around the world. Can you just touch a little bit on what this looks like when you go into some of these places?
So we do canine detection for bed bugs, and we do canine detection and abatement for rodents. So there's bed bugs everywhere and there's rodents everywhere. So we've been a lot of places. And I think the scariest I've ever been is flying out to oil rigs. That's just, you're landing on a toothpick in the middle of a very giant thing of water. And then you get out of the helicopter and it's like straight down. I mean, it's, you've got this little pad and you've got this dog, and it's just like, oh my, you're 5 feet in the freaking air. So that's very interesting. Pretty much anywhere, every farms and warehouses and hobby farms are always a lot of fun. Of course, hotels and simple places. I think it's the people that we meet doing this that really make our day. Some of them are
So
Walmart
they're
special.
fun, right?
Yeah, they're
Yeah. So you have pest control companies calling you. They can't fix the problem. And we're
right.
talking about we're not going to mention anybody, but they're big. They're really big. They're calling you and they're like, "Hey Kim, can you fix this?" I mean, have you? That's and they're like they've tried everything that they could, right?
Yeah.
And then you're going on and you're fixing the problem.
Well,
You know,
and that's something I wish we could change a little bit. So instead of, yes, we can come in, say like for rodents, for instance, they have dealt with this infestation a lot. We get a lot of apartments that have a lot of rodent issues around the dumpsters. I mean, we're talking the last apartment complex we did, we killed over 3,000 rats. That's what the dogs and I killed and the staff killed, because we hand grab them too. We're catching rats. The dogs are catching rats. Um, I give everybody a Home Depot bucket. They have to fill it before we can go home. That's how I decide when we're going to leave. Fill it. Um, so if we could get pest companies to just have the dogs come in first before the rodenticide, we can locate the nesting sites. We can locate the fission of the colony. So what happens with these colonies, they get so big, they reach capacity. And once that capacity reaches the level, now you've got fusion. And so now we're going to have a subpopulation startup. Then you've got the females who are going, oh, hell no, I got to get out of here, because the males are going to cannibalize on their young. So now we've got a paternal, instinct to leave. So now you can possibly have 3 populations in one area. And the issue with pest control, they don't come in and they don't know that. And we're finding that out. And it's a consistent thing. When we first start, we go in and we observe for 2 full days. We start at 10 in the morning and we end at 2 in the morning. I can tell you where the runways are, where the young are, where the nesting females are, and where that next colony has split off to. And the dogs find that. So the dogs can come in and they can find all this stuff. We mark everything. We mark the nest with flags. We mark the burrows with different flags. We have so much information before we even start working. And what happens when a pest company comes in, we're doing everything we've done because it used to work, and it's hard to get out of that box that we created for ourselves. They'll come in, they'll put their boxes down, see you next week. And that's very difficult. We're not giving our pest technicians time to do the observation that they need. We're not giving them the training to do the observation. Some of the best, well, not some, the best conservationists and environmentalists are sportsmen. They will know their species, they will know where it's running, they will bait for it, and then they'll harvest it. And they have a great deal of respect for it. And if we could get more into that realm of education, sanitation, exclusion, canine, trapping, we can lower. We're doing it now. We can lower the amount of rodenticides that's being used, if that makes sense.
and that's what you really want, right? That's why these, I would say, billion-dollar companies are going, "Hey, we got to do something different.
Yep.
We got to do something get different." Why would they call Kim, get her and her team out there, get the dogs out there, fly her out there to land on the tiny little oil rig? It's because you get results,
We get
and they love
results.
it.
The dogs get results.
Absolutely. So I have some questions along the lines of behind the scenes, how it works. What training goes into a detection dog? We talking about weeks, months?
So
How
in
long does it
six
take to train a dog?
6 weeks, I can get a bed bug dog ready to go, but on odor, but it's going to be another 6 weeks to 3 months to actually train in the environment that they're headed to. So, you've got to look at the environmentals and, I've got a dog out here right now who's phenomenal at finding bed bugs and training, but she's afraid of the world. So we're going to place her in a pet home. My mom's actually going to take her because
Okay. Okay.
so you really got to look at their environmentals and if they're willing to work and if they enjoy working. And if not, then they
Yeah,
need a nice pet home.
that makes sense. So you find out along the way whether they're going to work out or not. Now, there's misconceptions out there. What are the misconceptions that people have about this?
Misconceptions about a dog, they can smell everything no matter where it's at. And I just had that happen. I had a pallet about 30 feet away, sitting in an aisle of a warehouse. It had rodent fecal on it. My dog comes down an aisle, turns to the right, goes up the lane, and I have the pest person go, "Your dog didn't even smell that pallet." And I'm like, "I didn't get my dog into odor." You have to get your dog into the odor. So I think that's another huge misconception is we as handlers, we don't have a job to do. We have a job to do. We've got to keep our animals safe. We have to know the environment. We have to know the species that we're working with, their biology, their behavior. We have to know where to put the dog to get them into odor.
Awesome. Awesome. So this says again, what's your typical travel area? How far do you go? Where do you go? And it says, how far do you and your dogs go for these jobs?
So we're nationwide. So we have several national contracts that we work with a big box pest company. So for rodents, we travel nationwide, and for bed bugs, we're pretty much local, unless it's a large commercial job. So we're in the commercial industry. We didn't get into the residential. I don't know how we didn't. We fell into commercial, so we pretty much will travel whoever wants us to come work. I think now we're up to 18 states that we've worked in.
I bet you'll end up all over the world doing this stuff. You're going to be beyond nationwide, I think, once people learn more about what you do and how you do it, which is great. So, this is now on my questions here, but what gets you up in the morning as far as what is it that helps you like really love this? Because most people don't want to be, they'll wake up and say, "Yeah, let's go trap some rats today. Let's go do this. Let's go do that." Like, how did you come to this passion of doing this? That I guess is my question.
I think from coming from a family of sportsmen and conservation, education, and now there is such a huge need with how the rodenticide is just getting further and further into our environment. I mean, they're now finding rodenticide in wild hogs. So it's just contaminating more and more and more. And not how long ago was it? 22 years ago now. My God, 22 years. We had a Greenland project. I didn't go to Greenland, but my coworkers did. They went over to Greenland and banded peregrine falcons. 22 days later, those chicks that we banded in Greenland, I caught at Cape May Point in New Jersey at a banding station for birds. Blood samples were taken of those chicks and they had traces of DDT in them just for that migration. So we just need to wise up and realize that whatever we put in our environment is affecting us. It's affecting our unborn, it's affecting our babies, it's affecting every aspect of life. And so that's and what gets me up in the morning is 22 dogs that have to pee. So that's what gets me up in the morning. So,
Well, you and me both, by the way. I do the same. I have the same routine at my house. I have to wake up and let the dog. Who let the dogs out, right? Totally. Yeah, and I do that. But it's going back. I saw this post a couple of days ago, and it said, "We're the only people that will poison on our food and then eat it."
yeah.
And it's just like, maybe that was a little harsh how it was said, but it's like, yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. That here we are poisoning ourselves a lot of different ways, but here we're bringing some real green to
Yeah.
this industry. We're not using rodenticides. We're using methods of finding and cutting that off, right? IPM,
Well,
methods of doing that. Yeah.
Well, and we've got two apartment complexes that we went into, we lowered the rodent infestation to undetectable. You're never going to eradicate them. They're there. But when do they become a pest is when they start causing disease, you know, they start destroying things and they're affecting, you know, your client's way of life. And I mean, they're just, you know, but having that many you cannot have. That was where we caught over 3,000 rats. So 2 months, we went in for 2 months back to back. And we had a little activity the second month and we treated the burrows and the dogs killed the rats and we closed them up. And the next month we had nothing. So I am 9 months out and we've only shut down 3 burrows in 9 months. They are seeing no rodent activity at the dumpster like they did. So we can do this. We can take that infestation to an undetectable level, and then that allows the pest companies pesticide work. We're not a competition with pest companies. We complete the cycle. You know, we can get in there and we can lower it. We can take care of it quickly. 7 to 10 days, we can eradicate that or we can lower it. Now their pest control works, but those rats aren't going into those boxes and eating that poison most of the time. They've got a smorgasbord right there in front of them. And, you know, we see that a lot where pest control is concerned. And pest control is needed. It is so needed, but it's a partnership that's needed. You know, I think if they could add canine into it, they would just have those clients that weren't bouncing anymore. You know how clients are like, well, this pest company's not doing the job. They bounce to the next one and they just keep blaming the pest company. And it's not the pest company's fault. It's the partnership with the client has to, you know, the client has to do their part. And then the pest company's normally always doing their part. So they've got to kind of merge together a little more. Education's important. I really think education with the client is very important.
It's huge, and we've seen that the bounce around clients. So let's talk about the partners that you do have. So you have partnerships with even governmental institutions. I mean, who do you have partnerships with right now?
So we work for state and federal government. We do a lot of
Okay.
federal houses for bed bugs and some rodents. We've got 13 pest companies that we partner with, and we just added 3 more that we're partnering with. And some of them are small mom and pop pest companies. So what I'm enjoying seeing is a lot of collaboration between small mom and pop pest companies and, you know, by coming together, building something bigger. And so that's a lot of fun. Um, so yeah, I can't mention the companies, but you know, the oil well companies, everybody can figure that out. So some good partnerships. We've got a pest company in Texas we partner with. And of course, with Marcus, we've talked about doing some things when he gets up and
Absolutely. I mean, there's what I think is it's not necessarily even a huge size, right? You can work with the small and you can
yes.
work with the large. And I think that's part of the messaging here today is if you need to get a hold of Kim and talk to her about what she's doing or you're interested in your area, there's going to be some links here in the YouTube video and what we produce where they can, you know, the PCO owner can reach out to you and get help on that. It almost seems like you're going in the line of becoming an educator. I mean, people are already asking you to speak at these
Yeah.
big pest conferences. So I know that. Do you think you're going to set up some sort of an academy or something like that in the future as well, in addition to doing these jobs, or are you already doing that already?
Not doing it, but I think it would be a blast. So I am going down to Mexico and speaking at the Congress down there at a regional pest conference, and we're going to be talking about how canine can work into your program, everything from observation, everything we're talking about, sanitation, observation, education, and then we're going out on a rodent safari. So we're going to be taking them out and we're going to be showing them how to set up their site, how to observe their site, how to find the split off colonies. We're going to be showing them how to kill underground. We do use a Burrow RX that kills underground. And then it also will flush rodents out of the burrows. And now the dogs can catch those. And we'll be teaching them how to hand catch rats. If I'm 63, if I can hand catch them, they can. We're going to do hand catching rats. Just teaching them how to get away from throwing so much rodenticide at everything, and just do the work. Wyatt, this can honestly take these infestations down to a non-detectable level. That's sustainable. That is totally sustainable with proactive measures in place.
Thinking about even places where there are places on this earth they can't afford pesticides,
Yeah.
but they have dogs.
And they have dogs. Farm and
They have
farmer
dogs.
Farmers have dogs. They got just the farm dog that's out there killing rodents. And I get asked nonstop, we talked about that a minute ago, do the rats bite the dogs? And now I just go, yeah. I'm just like, yes, they do. But dogs get bit all the time. They kill snakes, they get bit by the snake. They kill a rat, they get bit by the rat. It's not life-threatening. We take it seriously because I don't want an infection or anything like that. And we'll never put our dogs in an unsafe world. We have shown up at, oh my gosh, we showed up at a waste management facility out of state, and somebody put a chemical everywhere that they should not have put, and especially this chemical. I couldn't even get the dogs out. So we go to Home Depot and we're buying our little Tyvek suits and booties and gloves. We still had to kill rats. We hand caught 268 rats in 4 hours. So,
Wow.
yeah. And so when we left, I was so upset when we left. I just put 3 buckets of rats by their back door and we left. It's like here. Oh,
Oh
and
my goodness.
yeah, here they are. So yeah,
So okay, you've used the word safari. It doesn't sound like a safari to me, but I like how you've marketed this thing. Hey, we're on a safari.
I'm
When you're
sorry.
catching, okay, you've described, okay, here's the buckets of Home Depot rats. How are the dogs like chasing them out and you're grabbing them? Is that what's that look like?
Oh, we've got several. So we got ferrets. We have ferrets. Why we can put a ferret in a burrow
Okay,
and the
I didn't hear about the ferrets now. We're introducing another animal. Tell us
yeah,
about the ferrets, please.
yeah. My husband just said I can't have a mini cow. He's drawn the line with animals here at the house unless we eat it, and I can't eat it. So we're not getting a mini cow or stomp around. So I imported ferrets. I imported about 16 ferrets from the UK. I love my UK boys. They are so good at hunting and dog hunting with rats and the ferrets. And they've taught me basically on the phone how to teach a ferret how to flush rats. And so I've been breeding my colony to have rat killing ferrets because here in the United States we don't have that. And now I got a really nice bloodline, and they'll get them. So you can stick them
Wow.
in the burrow, they'll flush them out the burrow, and then the dogs will get them. The trick is not to let my dogs kill the ferrets. So we had to do a lot of
Yeah.
acclimation for that, and they leave the ferrets alone just fine. But we use a Burrow RX if I can't use the ferrets because the pesticides gone in. We'll use the Burrow RX. And what that does, it puts a carbon monoxide into the ground. They can smell it and they can see it coming because we add oil to it, and the oil makes it smoke. And that gives us two things. That's flushing rats, and the dogs are off catching rats like crazy. And we can see the line of the burrows. So this is an actual burrow. It goes from point A to point B. We can close point B up. Because some of these burrows are just hides. They're just little dig outs that they can get into to get away from predators, or if they get nervous, that type of stuff. We want to trace the actual burrows. Then when I get a little bubble of maybe some babies, now I know I'm in a nesting area. I'll mark it with a white flag, and then we'll go back and dig that out to make sure we got all the babies and they were all eliminated. So it's all about finding the populations, getting them out. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Hand catching rats, you got to try it, Wyatt. You got to go out with us and catch some
Oh,
rats.
I would totally do it. I used to catch lizards growing up and snakes and everything else, but never rats, never rats. And it was probably because I used to shoot the prairie kind of like dogs, and
Yeah, yeah.
and when I'd shoot them, I'd see these bugs jumping out of their hair, and that just disgusts me. I'm like, I'm not going to touch that thing, right? They were prairie dogs. They would dig holes, and it was the only thing that my mom would let me shoot because they was digging holes in their garden. Yeah. So she's like, hey, that's wide open. You go ahead and take them out. So, bigger picture, looking back, I'm hearing, hey, this is humane. It's better for the environment. It's science based. Uh, we're not competing with pest control companies. We're enabling them, helping them in some of these bigger cases. What else? What else do you see as bigger picture with what you're doing?
Well, in pest control, what I enjoy it because I feel it's diagnostic and prevent. We're in the diagnostic for risk management. If you take just pest risk management, we're more in the diagnostic and preventative. We can tell you where this problem is starting and you can prevent it instead of waiting for everything to just blow up on you. And now, boom, you've got a $1 million fix here and it's going to take you forever to fix it. So, that's the other issue. I think just being diagnostic and preventative, humane. We help people be compliant for their audits. We're very good at that, going in ahead of time and looking and helping their pest control maintain compliance with the audits, finding that secret nesting area. We just did. We weren't allowed in the maintenance room. We're not allowed. And we got to go in. Don't tell me no. We got to go in. And I kept asking. Finally, the right person or a person said we could go in. And I put Bailey in the maintenance room. It's dark, it's quiet. That's where you're going to find your mice. And she went nuts on this utility box, big, tall, 4-foot. And when Greg got down, Greg's like, what? I'm like, well, get down there and look. Get down and look. So my husband's crawling down on his hands and knees, and we're all standing over him like, typical, state workers. And he looks up and there it was. So they chewed through the caulking where the conduit was running up at the joint of the wall. They chewed through it. There was grease, mice poop everywhere. We let the pest company know they caught 28 mice in 3 days at that location because we found the problem. And then we got up on the rooftop of that maintenance building. It was inside, and you could see where they were running right down they had a rim all the way down, I don't know, 800 square feet or 800 feet to the pipe that the dogs kept hitting on. So now we got their runway, all because of Bailey finding that one source. That whole puzzle was put together. And the last time I talked to them, they were up to 169 mice. And that just seemed to be a great runway from the ceiling, from the maintenance, from the product. And so it's amazing, the story. And that's why you have to know your job. The dog is going to take you to the story. You got to put the story together. You got to build it. And then it's important to hand that over to your pest company so they can do their job effectively.
Yeah, this is awesome. I think you've brought out the sportsman in this fun world of rat catching and some of the other things that you do. And some of the other things that you do. But I'll tell you what, I learned a lot just listening to you talk about what is happening right here. I would say that this is going to be something that if you have something that comes up, now you have a resource with Kim. She's on LinkedIn. She has her website. There's a lot of different ways you can get a hold of Kim if you need help on something like this. So how do you prefer for PCOs to get a hold of you, Kim?
They can reach me through LinkedIn, or they can just pick up the phone and call me. I can give my 404-234-0688. Just
perfect.
Just give me a call. Just don't put it on a bathroom wall. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Kim, and we look forward to seeing you. I believe I'm going to see you at Pest World, and if I don't see you at Pest World, we'll definitely see you in Arizona at our mastermind. We're so happy to have you as part of our mastermind. Our members are going to benefit, and thank you again for being on the podcast today.
I look forward to it. Thanks, everybody.
That's a wrap on this episode of SwarmCast. Thanks for tuning in and arming yourself with the marketing firepower to keep your pest control business thriving. Before you scurry off, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode and leave us a review. It helps us spread like a well-placed bait station. Got a topic you want us to tackle? Drop us a line and let's keep the conversation buzzing. Until next time, stay sharp, stay strategic, and keep swarming the market.